looks like we are live here on YouTube. Apparently, Facebook decided to boot us off the broadcast for some reason. So, those of you who are trying to join on Facebook, apologize for that. But we're having some technical difficulties on the Facebook platform. But for everyone that is on here, YouTube Live, I appreciate it. And I want to turn it over and say a wonderful welcome and thank you here. I'm Nick Karaskevich, the host of The Tread, and we have our wonderful season premiere first guest, Troy from Best Dressed. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hey guys, thank you first, man. I appreciate it, Nick. Thanks for having me as your first guest. Like you said, I'm Troy. Troy Schroeder. I'm in Fort Dodge, Iowa, which is known as the flyover state. Nobody comes here. It's a desolate ground of corn and beans, and a few of us awesome snake breeders. And yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to be here and excited to talk with you today.
Yeah. I mean, I think first and foremost, I think the thing that, everyone's been, kind of poking and bugging about here is obviously you're known for the jackets. That's your thing. It's every show. There's some type of a jacket. I think that there's probably a poll in Vegas right now, kind of betting as far as, what the jacket's going to be here for the upcoming show. So where did that start? What was the whole, feng shui behind that?
Yeah, and I've talked about this before. So some people may have heard this. If you haven't, hopefully you enjoy the story. I'm a photographer and I've had a photo studio for about 15 years. And early on, I got very involved with an organization called Professional Photographers of America. And then each state has its own affiliate. So Professional Photographers of Iowa and so on. And so I got very involved with both of them. And at one point I got selected to be on a board and a committee at both of those institutions. And basically the guy that kind of brought me on was like, hey man, you can't show up in a t-shirt or whatever. You got to wear it. You got to wear a suit. And I grew up I was not a good kid. And I'll put it that way. I was just not a very good kid. And my dad was a vice president of a college. He was a suit and tie guy. And I hated that, that look or that lifestyle. Like I had a really bad, just look upon how, people like that were. And so I'm like, I'm not wearing a suit. Right. And so, this conversation goes back and forth, and long story kind of short, I said, well, if I have to wear a suit, I'm gonna wear a suit. Right. And so, right. I think I ended up going into like a Macy's in Atlanta, Georgia. I think it was the first time. Okay. And I bought like 4 or 5 of these like crazy coats. I show up to the meetings. It's kind of a hit, right? It's funny. Yeah. You get the people that see the comical side of it. I've always got lots of very nice comments, and compliments from people too about how, that they look good or how I look or whatever. And so carry on through that, both of those deals both have a convention. One of them is a main convention, that's, nationwide and travels through a couple different states. And so me having a position with them, I wanted to carry it through there. So wore the suits, then it starts to get on Facebook and it travels through social media. And so my friends from even outside of the photography world are now seeing me in these crazy suits. So on the way home, so I used to be, I'm super lame. I used to be TS geckos and balls. We used to have geckos, okay. And we were transitioning into ball pythons. And I did shows under that name, Tinley and so on, in Pomona. And one Pomona, the Reptile Super Show, I went out with, myself and John Dagg from JD Constriction, and then Joe and John from JSA. Yeah. And on the way home, I don't even know how the subject actually started. Like JD would probably know, but JD at one point turns to me in the van and he was like, hey man, why don't you do the suit thing like in the snake game? Like you stand apart from everybody. Like you can see how well it's liked in your photo world. Like I think you should do this in the snake game. And I immediately like jumped on Instagram and I looked up like Best Dressed Balls, because he was like, Best Dressed Balls would be a cool name. And it was available. And so I rolled with it, man. And so that's really the long or short story of it, is how it kind of came about. I do have like I do really enjoy the suits, man. I'm not going to lie. Like, whether I can wear them to a, gig here in town, a charity event, or I can wear them to our photo things, or I can wear them to a snake show. I thoroughly actually enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I think the other thing, I know I've poked you about it at the few shows before. When's the US Arc one coming? I mean, there's got to be a custom
Yeah,
US
so
Arc
I
one
had a
coming.
lady that I tried to get a whole bedazzled US Arc with, so it was like US Arc's logo and then NARBC's logo, and she gave it a try and just, for whatever reason, wasn't able to do it. And so I know it's out there. I'm sure I could even get online and make it really simple and probably
Yeah.
get it done.
All
I
right.
just haven't done the research. So
Yeah.
it's going to happen though.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think the other thing too, I think obviously, some people, obviously, I think if you've seen kind of the ball python industry evolve, we've seen a lot of people now. I don't want to say that they're online warriors, but you're seeing where they're only doing, online, or maybe you see them do one local show and then that's it. And they're completely basing their sales online. I still see you, obviously, you've grown your business here now, since what, like 20, how many years now going on?
So I started as TS Geckos and Balls, the ball python part 10 years ago.
Right.
We got back into the reptiles and stuff through leopard geckos about probably 15 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I still see, obviously, like I said, you've seen some people, obviously, like Ozzy and stuff, that have kind of slowed up. You don't really see them as much, really, or at all at shows anymore. But obviously, I still see you going up to Minnesota, the cold-blooded expos. I see you going all the way out to California. I feel like you're like a staple piece out there with like Redwood and No Limits and High Desert. I mean, so I guess for you, I mean, when you're looking at, I mean, how do you see, I think, the shows evolving as the industry has evolved?
Yeah, I think there's a fine balance, and I think you could say, I definitely want to word this correctly. Like, I think there's a part of me, when I talk with Joe at JSA and Dag and Andrew and Jacob and all these guys and Antoine, Josh from Ball Shed, like when we talk, I think we all talk about how we very easily could walk away from shows, and maybe push harder online and be able to maybe have that time back at your house with your family or this or that. The trade-off is you lose that connectivity or whatever with meeting new clients and things like that. So I enjoy the shows. I love meeting people. That's any podcast I've ever done. I'm sure people have heard me say this. It's always about meeting the people first and foremost for me. Yeah. The kids, you and I talked a little bit a minute ago about the kids, and I think that's super important too. And they get to see these shows, and they kind of think you're like a celebrity, and they get a kick out of it, and they're the next people coming up in this. And so if I want to do this 10 years from now and 20 years from now, I need my face recognizable by them as well then too, right? Like I'm projecting myself not just to the people you and I already know. Like it sounds probably corny, man, but like some 12 or 15-year-old kid coming in, to Tinley tomorrow, this weekend, in 5 or 10 years, he's 20 and 25, he or she, like they're going to be buying animals from somebody, right? And I hope at that point I've made a relationship, with them. And so I think the shows are vital to meeting the new people, meeting the younger generation, keeping your face out there. I think the biggest part is the people getting to meet you, and then also getting to see like your snakes or reptiles, whatever it is you're selling, in person, and seeing that you take care of them and that they look good and they're healthy. And so I just think if you really wanted to bail completely from shows, that would be a tough sale for me. Yeah. I wouldn't say that at some point I wouldn't slow down and do less, but this year I'm actually picking up a couple more shows. I'm doing a show in Denver in April that I've never done before with Reptile Nation. Me and Josh are going out to give the show a try. So, yeah, man, I think the shows are a vital part.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, no pressure on the spot. I don't think Potter's on here live, but favorite show. I mean, is it Tinley? Is it Arlington? Is it one of the super shows? I mean, and you don't have to put it from like this show, I just kill it. But I guess which one I would say is like every show consistently. I feel like everyone has that one that's like, man, this show's a blast, whether I made, $10,000 or I made $50,000 type of a thing. Yeah.
I get asked that question, whether it's on this or just, talking with people. I can't narrow it to one, but I can narrow it to two. I really love Arlington, and I really love the Pomona Super Show.
Yeah.
Those two are definitely my favorite.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. I mean, obviously, I know I've talked with people, so like I don't do Arlington right now. Obviously, right now, I mainly the big one for me is Tinley, and then
Yeah.
obviously I do the Schaumburg and then St. Louis from NARBC. Those are kind of my biggies right now. But customer base, I mean, do you shift your approach? I guess when you're looking at like I'm going out to Pomona versus I'm going to Arlington, is your approach still the same, and it's just it is what it is, or do you shift kind of to your customer base to be that?
Really, yeah. I don't think I change anything up. I set up the show the same. I hope that I, as a person, don't change from one show to another. So I would say, like, my approach at least is that, I tackle each show the same way, whether it's even like a cold-blooded show in Kansas City or Minnesota versus a Tinley. I mean, you're really talking about two completely different show aspects. But, I think for myself and even, speaking of Dag and those guys, I mean, I think we all kind of go into it with the same mindset. And, I learned a long time ago with the shows that it really isn't about the dollars. The show is about marketing.
Right.
The dollars are always icing on the cake. It's not, I'm not going to lie and say it's not nice to leave with, dollars in your pocket, man, or you sell something or you sell a big ticket and you get to go buy a big ticket or something,
Right.
But really, going into shows, if that's something people are getting ready to do, I think change your mindset. Like, it's not about the sales.
Yeah.
Your sales will come afterwards. More market, the phone, a text message. Like I probably sell more the week after or 30 days after than I do at the show.
Yeah. And I think be curious from your perspective. I'm always kind of curious. Favorite vendor that's not you?
Ooh,
like
favorite vendor.
Is there one vendor? Maybe it was a show and they just kind of blew you out of the water, whether it be setup or you'd never heard of them or what they, put on the table. It doesn't have to be something that you even purchased, but you're just like, man, that person's cool, or that's just a wild looking business.
Favorite vendor. This is what I'm going to say. So at first I have to say this. I have to take out Dag and JSA and those, because that's an easy one, right? They're my friend. They're my buddies, Josh and all those guys. And the guy I'm going to say is just as good a friend as I am, or I am with those guys. But I'll tell you why I'm going to say Kittinger Reptiles.
There.
Jason, his wife, his sister, are wholeheartedly good people. Like, if I could pick to be another vendor, I would want to be Jason. I absolutely have a love for him and his sister and his wife. They're just good people.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember looking back, this was a few St. Louis's ago, and I know you've been to St. Louis, obviously, a few times, and the security people are interesting down there.
Some people got to see the other side of Troy in a hurry.
Yeah, they get to retire or something. But I remember that was the first year. I think it was like the first or second year of St. Louis the one time. And man, those security, I remember they chased me and Kittinger all the way down the hallway. And then what we did is we were like propping up the rocks and the stone. We were making sure one of us was getting.
That's great.
But yeah, no, like you said, just like wholeheartedly, good person. I know when I looked at it, I'm like, man, I load up the back of a pickup truck, like to and from shows. we're talking about someone who's loading up basically like a trailer full of stuff, from that size. And the fact that he's like, no, I'll make sure that like you don't get nailed by the security folk, where it's like, dude, I've got a 6-hour drive. You got like a 12-hour drive back to Florida or Georgia.
He's right to like mid Florida, man. And I know he's on his way to Tinley now. Like I know he left tonight. And so man, he's a good dude.
Yeah, no, definitely. I guess kind of looking, obviously last year, obviously big thing I think on the table I consistently saw from you, Monarch Pieds. That was kind of the big thing. Looking at, I would say, the Monarch project. This is how I've phrased it to people. I see Monarch and the Ultramill type, whole debate. I kind of see it like lavender and regular albino. Like, sure, lavender is kind of that it's really hot. It's a niche market. That's why it gets a little bit more, pomp and circumstance. Do you see kind of Monarch and Ultramill potentially kind of also going in kind of a similar path, or do you think that Monarch potentially takes a completely different path as far as kind of how that develops?
No, I tease the Ultramill guys, anytime I'm in a group chat or a live or something, Jaffe and those guys, I like to mess with those guys. to be honest, man, I have a love for both of them. And I picked Monarch kind of because of what you're saying. I saw Monarch. I felt like there was enough people doing ultramale that I wasn't going to bring any new justice to it. But Monarch was new enough that like maybe I could get, ahead, right? Or I could capitalize somewhat on that project. Right. And so I think Monarch is darker. I think in some genes it doesn't look as good as it does in ultramale does with that gene, and I think vice versa. Right. And so I think you're very right. I think if you look at albino and lab albino, they're very similar and very different, and you can the one looks better in something versus the other. Same with same with Monarch and ultramale, man. I in all honesty, I certainly won't kick rocks at ultramale, and unless if Jaffe and those guys are listening, then I will. But
yeah. Oh, I just saw Jerome. Hey, you're on. Jerome, do you have any funny stories do you want to spill about Troy here? You can put it in the chat.
Yeah, those guys all have some. You know what they like to do? They like to make fun of my fingers because they think I got fat fingers. So they pick on me, sons of bitches. Yeah. I see. I popped it up on my screen over here. So I have a group message with like me and Jerome, Tony from Next Level. I see, and Jacob, Antoine and Andrew. It's kind of and then Josh and Kendall, because it's kind of our Pomona group, right? That's who we all set up with at Pomona, and we've all become good friends. And so we get some pretty funny shit going on in that group message.
Yeah. No, definitely. I guess also too, I mean, industry wise, I mean, things have shifted a lot. I think every breeder has kind of taken, I would say over the past probably 18 months, I think they've all to a degree, I would say changed course. You've seen people to a degree, some more drastically than others. I guess as kind of things are shifting and stuff, I mean, how are you looking at it? Are you looking at it as everything going, doubles and triples? Are you looking at it as still kind of to a degree of a balance? And really from, I guess I would say a serious collectors to breeders standpoint, I think that pet market is always just going to be that pet market. It just might evolve into what the leftovers become to a degree, but kind of curious how your stance is as far as how you're shifting going forward with things.
Yeah, it's a great question, man. That's an absolutely great question. And it's tough because I think like right now, I feel a bit lost. I'm trying to decide what it is I do, right? Like, I think I'm still kind of right in that middle ground where, do I pair everything? Do I don't know if I say not care what my, byproduct is, or do I put more care to what my byproduct is? And I think, to maybe somewhat answer your question, I think right now, where I'm at right now, man, I've been pairing very slowly. Typically the way I pair things is, whether I just pair to pair or I ultrasound. And so typically once I see like, I don't know, any follicle action whatsoever, I start pairing. And this year I haven't.
Right.
I've actually waited all the way up till I've seen, 14 and 15 millimeter follicles. And most of that being is, I don't know if I justify making 60 clutches again or something. Am I part of the problem? There are a lot of ball pythons for sale, and I definitely won't sit here and say I believe that there's necessarily like a snake recession. I don't think that's a real thing. Please don't think I'm stupid. I think a recession, the word recession applies to everything, right? Sure. So like if us as a society are in a recession, then it just trickles through everything. Some industries are hurt more than other industries. And so I started my photography business in a recession, and people thought I was nuts, and you take away people's, extra money where they would spend it on things like photography, and you can replace photography with snakes or reptiles. And yet I thrived and succeeded. And I think a lot of that is, one, your mindset and your attitude, and two, like, you have to be able to adapt. Right. And so, I think, people that are in my position right now are probably doing somewhat of the same, like really reevaluating. I know there's a lot of people out there that, say, oh, the fly-by-night guys are going to fail quickly. And they probably are. There's probably truth to that. And again, that's in the industry. And so, and you're seeing that. I think you're going to, you're going to kind of trim the fat off the industry, but I think it's going to be a tough year probably. But man, I'm not going to lie. Like, we've been selling snakes. I sold quite a few just in the last couple of weeks. It almost felt like the gates opened in the last couple of weeks. Tinley, being right around, this weekend, that gives us a really good idea, I think, of kind of where we are. And, but yeah, man, I mean, it is a tough question. I think everybody would maybe approach it somewhat differently, but, I'm trying to just pair as correctively as I can. That wasn't really a word. Wasn't the word I wanted to use. I have a GED, by the way.
Oh, good.
And so, yeah. But yeah, man, I mean, that's the long and short of it, is I'm just trying to pair to really be, cautious and I'm pairing up with some friends, maybe a little bit more than I have in the past, helping each other out. I think, that's important. That can be scary for people, man. And that's a subject I could talk about for hours on end. But yeah, man, I'm just trying to be careful.
Yeah. No, I think, for the same point, I mean, I'm kind of in that same boat. I mean, I've been telling people, I mean, people have been asking me, I mean, puzzle wise, they're like, how many clutches are you going to have puzzle? And I'm like, it could be, 2 clutches. It could be 8 clutches. I'm like, I'm basically basing it 100% off of, I hate to say it, but one male, at this point, because I only care about that one male's genes as it relates to my project.
I'm glad you brought that up, man. I don't want to say I've been a puzzle hater, but I've been somewhat of a puzzle hater. But to adapt, right? Talking about adapting, like I picked up a group of het puzzles that are Posset hypo. They're breeder girls. They're locking right now. One of them's already at, I think, 19 millimeters or something. I picked them up. Gen Z, if you guys know the Gen Z brothers here in Iowa, their life is changing, and I wish them the best. And so it was an opportunity for me. And that's another part of it, right? Is even, so I'm going to say this, man, to kind of maybe build a little bit on your question. I always used to tell people they should maybe breed for what they visually like.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true, especially where we are right now. Like, if you want to legitimately look at this as a business, I think if you go to a clothing store, the lady that owns it or something, she might not like everything in that store, right? But she has to sell it to keep the doors open.
Correct.
And I think that's true for anything. And so the puzzle has grown on me. I'm actually really excited. Like, I'm excited to see eggs from these girls, and be able to have, that gene into the collection, onto the table, and available, to better my collection and to better, what I have to offer people. And so, I mean, that's another thing, right? Like, in these times, like, evaluate your collection and maybe take a gamble on something you don't maybe visually like or whatever, but maybe it's part of the next best thing. So I don't know, maybe taking a gamble is part of my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me, I've always kind of looked at it like a percentage on my side. Like, I look at it, it's like, okay, if I really like something, how many percentage as far as quantity do I have? Because even if I want to get there really, really fast, if I have 100, let's say I have 100, grails, type of a thing. Again, grails are like, they don't move as fast as they did, the second year out,
right.
So it's like, do you really want to have, 10, 20 girls producing, grail combos? Or do you want to say, well, I'm only going to work off of 2 or 3, type of a thing? I've kind of taken that approach. I mean, with certain things like lavender and genetic stripe that, like, I personally like, but I know that there are a lot of people out there that are like, G stripe is dead, but I still hold on to my, 3 or 4 that I got.
Yeah, well, yeah, man, absolutely. And, you talk about like grails. I mean, a lot of that stuff is so limiting, right? I mean, a yellow and white snake is a yellow and white snake. Yeah. You're never going to change it, and, but they have a purpose. And so, right. Do I want 100 of them? No, but do I want it in the collection somewhat? Sure. And so, I think it's definitely, I think a lot of people in this industry get stuck on maybe letting go of stuff, and I think sometimes you gotta be able to trim the fat. You gotta be able to let go. Just talking about Jason Kittinger, like today I saw he posted some stuff on his stories about some animals he's bringing out of his holdback rack, right? Like some really nice DG stuff, and You know, it's hard. Like DG's hot. You know, so
Right.
you got to wonder if he's letting go of certain animals. What's he keeping, right? And
Right.
but the fact is he's willing to let go. And I think a lot of us struggle with doing that, and I'm one of them. I've kept entirely too many pied animals for entirely too long, but it was always because I have such a love for pied. I mean, it's my favorite thing, but
Right.
you know, from a business standpoint, I have too many.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say I feel like I knew your brand before I actually knew you personally. It was because it was like you'd go on Morph Market and it was like, well, there's like 50 pieds from Troy,
Yeah.
type of thing. And I'm like the complete opposite. I joke with people. I'm like, I have one visual pied in my collection. There's soon to probably be more, and it's only for DG pied. And it was only because it's only because I make the joke too. I backed into it. So a buddy backed out of a deal with another friend of mine from Levance. And so my other buddy goes, well, do you want this other girl? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll take the gamble on it. Like, what do you need to cover the deal? So I covered it and stuff, you know, obviously fast forward now. So like now I just grabbed it for the Enchi Het DG at the time. I didn't really think much about the Het Pied, but you know, like fast forward 2-3 years, I'm like, yeah, I should probably invest in using it.
Yeah. Well, dude, this is only a couple of years ago that I finally I had visual clowns for a while. And then I went with this whole theory of how I didn't like clowns, and I was like, I don't want them. I didn't see the future, right? But I was also pretty naive at the time, and I didn't really understand everything. I think as a whole until I like really opened up to like talking to people. That's a big thing, man. Networking is a huge part of this, and that changed. So I mean, it was just probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago or something that I actually reshelved, you know, like clown girls and stuff. So yeah, man, we all do stupid stuff. I can tell you that.
Man, they're really hammering you here on these fat fingers.
I can only imagine, like, yeah, I know that Tony and Tony's lovely mother are probably defending me because they're good people. Jerome and them are not. You have to remember they're from California, so.
I guess, you know, so we got NARBC in like technically 2 days if we want to count Friday, because let's face it, money starts moving Friday as soon as people walk in the door. I guess going to NARBC, is there anything, you know, you've been holding back that you're looking forward to either showing off, or is it everything that's out there is out there? I mean, what should we expect when we go, you know, walk down the aisle and we got JD and Mershons and all those people on the one side, and then we got you. What are we expecting if we're going to the best dress table?
I wish that sometimes I wasn't honest. I wish I could look into this camera and lie to you.
I mean, you can.
I could try. I'm not ready to let go of anything in the holdback rack.
Yeah.
And everything I'm bringing, other than a few things, is pretty well my leftovers. So that's my honesty. I mean, there's some really nice animals still in there. Like, I think I've got some pretty nice pied stuff if somebody's looking for that. I think I have absolutely a killer selection for those people. Like, you know, you're kind of talking about the pet market. You know, that, you know, $500, you know, for a pied, give or take a couple $100, man, I've got that covered. Right. But I bring in a couple of monarch animals that I think are nice. I've got a couple of mandarin clown things I'm going to bring, but yeah, I think my selection is, you know, overall, I've never been in a position where my spring show is a good show for me as far as selection wise, because I don't have a good year-round breeding, and that's something I've been trying to focus on. Like, I bought some animals from Ozzy that all laid like March to May, so that's getting my season earlier.
Right.
So kind of oddly enough, man, like I'm going to try to focus on trying to find some girls from, you know, if somebody's letting go of something that fits, that would maybe be like a late November, December, you know, lay, so that, you know, come spring I have you know, some decent chunky animals. And so yeah, that's my problem is my season typically goes summer. Like, summer's I'm getting that's a lot of hatchlings.
Yeah.
Fall is kind of, you know, got better for me over the last couple of years. So like late late shows, and then like Pomona, typically I have a pretty good selection. But by Tinley, Arlington, I would even say February Arlington, I'm a little bit low, and usually March Tinley, I have it in front of me, man. I think I have 59 animals, so I can spread that through 4 cases and have some empty spots yet. And typically, in my busy time of the year, I can set up, 8 cases or more and still have, animals on the shelf at home. And so, yeah. And I think a few of us are that way. I mean, Mershon, I think, he'll certainly have, some absolute fire at his table, and so will JD, but JD and I's season are very, very similar. Yeah. So, but his is so niche, like the Xanthic side of things. But yeah, and being in that row is pretty tough. But Lisa, you want to say hi?
No.
Say hi.
Hi.
Oh my God, if you would have tripped on that chair, that'd been classic gold right there. She hates me. She hates to be on video too, so I was trying to catch her. But man, I'm not gonna lie to people. I certainly don't have, any, brand new awesome snakes that just hatched. I've, hidden, in the rack and waiting to bring to Tinley. I hope that happens.
Right.
If we and you had this conversation, right before October, that would be a different conversation.
Oh yeah. No, definitely. What's going on here with this Togo box thing? I'm seeing all your California buddies talking about Togo box. What is this Togo box?
Who's never seen a Togo box? I have no idea what the heck they're talking about.
Can our West Coast friends enlighten us what a Togo box is?
They're so stupid.
No, they don't want to enlighten us.
I tell you.
I guess other things too. I mean, so
Friends.
To go box. That I don't know what that means. Like
I think they're talking about how fat I am, because I would never have to take the food off the table in a to-go box.
I got you.
Yeah, they think they're pretty funny.
I got you. I think at some point, I haven't seen him on here. Unfortunately, we haven't brought that was a good story, I think, from the St. Louis show. I wish Tyler was on here so we could bring up the meatballs, the alien thing.
Oh my God, that was great.
That whole thing. So I'm not even gonna lie. I scoured here, like coming up to the auction. I was trying to find a way to get like a full-size, life-size cardboard cutout, and I was just gonna put it in the auction for the heck.
Oh my God, yeah. Poor Tyler. So Tyler's actually going to vend Tinley. Donald from Get Morphed unfortunately can't make it, and so I reached out to Tyler because I knew they were coming anyways.
Oh, right.
And so he's going to vend Tinley, I think, pretty well his first time. And so I'll get to pick on Tyler again, man. I enjoy picking on Tyler.
No, I know. I think that's another one between having you and JD on a show and giving him crap about TSK. and then reliving the meatballs, the alien thing. I mean, for everyone who wasn't at St. Louis, that whole night was a shit show.
Yeah. So when this is over tonight, if you guys have never watched the movie Meatballs, for one, that's like late 70s, early 80s classics.
Two
80s classic. Yeah. There's an alien in it, and I told Tyler that him and the alien look alike. So if you go look at the alien and then go look at Tyler from Tyler's Toxic Falls, I'm telling you, they're twins. Mm-hmm.
Monarch wise, where are we going after Monarch Pied? Are we going?
Yeah, so this year, my double het Monarch Pied stuff should lay relatively soon. So you should hopefully see some more Monarch Pieds. I have a visual fire Monarch Pied male. And then the other girls I have lined up for him are not to size. I did take my fire Monarch Pied to a Cinnamon Sunset girl to make some triple heads. I'm not really sure where I want to take Sunset, and it's something I work very little. I only have 2 girls and only one of them at size. And so I went triple het, that route. I won't have any visual Monarch clown stuff, but I'll have some, I think, decent Monarch maybe het clown stuff, or even like some double het kind of stuff. God, I'm trying to think what else is what else is in the room. Hoping to hit Black Pastel Hypo Monarch this year. She should lay again pretty decently early. I would think she'll lay probably April or May or something. So that's Tony's lovely mother. She's like like the mom everybody wants. I'm telling you right now, if you guys get to meet her, you're gonna fall in love with her. She's great.
She's super fanning over here right now.
She's the best. I love it. She is so good.
We could throw it out here too. Anyone in chat, if there's something you want to either, bust, no pun intended, but bust Troy's balls on, questions you want to pose to him, shade you want to throw his way, you're willing to
I'll take it
here, and we'll fling it onto the screen here.
I'll take it.
At the end of the day, like I've been kind of telling everyone, I mean, this isn't really my channel. This is our channel. So whatever people bring to the table is what ends up coming here. So
yeah, man, you opened up the door here. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Yeah. Are you gonna be at Tinley?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always at Tinley. I'm like, it's funny. Like I had it good, like originally. I'm still in that same row. And then it's like they shifted a couple vendors, and it's like I'm like sandwiched between Hardwire and I forget who else is on the other side. Okay. It's whoever brought the super normal last year.
Nice. Okay.
Super
all right.
normal.
Yeah, I think I know where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, as that row is developed, now it's like all boa constrictors, and it's like me and Tony. And realistically, pure ball pythons is just Tony, because then I have my tarantula side too. So it's,
okay, yeah.
That whole side. I mean, it'll be interesting. Last 2 years, at least on the tarantula side, someone got nailed by DNR like the last 2 years in a row at Tinley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say, I remember a guy got hit for the turtles. I think last year. And you've got to know me a little bit, and obviously these guys in the comments know me pretty well. Like I can be, a bit of a smart ass, and I like to have a good time, man. Life's pretty short. And so, the DNRs, they're busting this guy on turtles. And I said something smart ass to the DNR. I don't even know what I said. And the guy, like, he had zero sense of humor, zero. And I remember, like, he kind of looked at me and said something, and I said something back, like, hey man, have a sense of humor, something, and like just walked away. But yeah, I get their job is a serious job. I thought my joke was pretty funny, and I wish I knew what it was, but
yeah,
it was funny at the time.
To me. I just kind of tell people Illinois for someone who used to live in Iowa like yourself for the few years, Illinois DNR is different than like Iowa or like North Dakota DNR. This is how I'd rank it. North Dakota, you call on the phone and they say, do you really need us? Is someone going to die? Is there something bad happening, like drug smuggling? If no, then figure it out yourself and don't do something stupid.
Yeah.
You go to Iowa, they're like 50-50, depending on like where you're at. If you're in the northern half, it's like maybe a little bit more. Closer you get to Minneapolis, the southern half, they're like, we don't care. This is like Missouri. You go to Illinois, and they care about everything.
Yeah, man, they were tough. Like, yeah, and to be honest, I felt bad for the guy. And I think I ended up talking to Potter or something later about like, hey man, how often does this happen? Do you get any recourse? Does any NARBC get any recourse? Like was my question. And he was like, no, but he's like, people know what they bring, man. They know if they're breaking the law or not. And I'm not saying, Potter's pointing a finger at that situation or whatever, but I think he has a point, right? Like, yeah. I would think if you're in Illinois, unless if you're being completely naive, you know what you have and what you brought and whether or not you're breaking a rule. And so if you take that gamble and you get caught on it, man, you really can't be mad, right? Like, be happy that they didn't haul you off. They just took your animals. So,
yeah. That's usually what happens every year. One of the endangered tarantulas, someone brings a whole sack of like 100 of them, and they all get taken off the table.
Right.
Saturday. But got another monarch question for you, Todd.
Yeah, I see Todd's question. Yeah. So Todd, I can tell you two things. One, I have that pairing. Maybe not the best pairing, but I did a pastel monarch to a het ultra male. And her follicles are like 30 36 millimeter last time I looked, right? So unless if she slugs out or something stupid, hopefully we'll have eggs, and I can tell you that. The other side of things is this, and I'm trying. I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but I've had a pretty good conversation with the guys at RGI, and they have led me to believe from that conversation that from the information they have, again, I have a GED, so I'm not going to try to talk smart here, but however that DNA, you know, what they look at,
Right.
they've explained to me that it's different.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're going to find any. I don't think you're going to have the situation where it's like, you know, caramel and I can't even talk. Yeah. So, anyways, I think we'll find out in the near future. I have been told other people have made that pairing and not had anything. I've had people tell me they've made that pairing and got something, or
Right.
you know. And so I always think we live in a digital age, so to prove these things is so relatively easy, right? Like you can have pictures and video, and now you have things like, you know, morph markets, breeding pairings, and you know, incubator and whatever, clutch it. I mean, there's so much digital proof you could put out to show these stories, like, oh, I've done a pairing like that and it didn't produce anything, or I did that pairing and it did produce anything. Well, where are they at?
Right.
Nobody ever has that answer, right? So like, I made that pairing because I wanted to have the visual proof in front of me, so I knew it, you know,
Right.
yeah, I would know it, right? And so, but like I said, talked with RGI. I really think from what they told me, they're two different, you know, two different genes, or, you know, caramel and ultra male and monarch. You know, there's some stuff out there, like there's, I think a line called Burgundy, right? Like, and I think there's another one even.
I know it's something
Yeah.
like something with like an N or something like that. If someone can remind me, it's like,
Yeah.
is
And
it
I
like
think even,
Nessie or something
yeah, and like, you know, Corey Woods has like a maple gene, which looks very ultra male or very monarch like to me, right? I'm not saying that it is, so I want to make that clear. Whether somehow they're all linked or not, yeah, I certainly don't have the right answer or perfect answer, but talking with RGI and doing that pairing for myself, I want to believe that I'll be able to say without a doubt that we're not going to have that situation.
Willie apparently says that we should be changing the video type for you.
Oh, funny. I guess that you tinny. I love it. Well, I was worried, man, because after you started the podcast, I realized I didn't have my internet on my phone turned on. And
no worries.
I was like, oh shit, and I didn't want to put it on and then have it like disconnect me. So far, I've remained a signal, which is good in my building that I'm in.
No, all right. Yeah, I mean, I got everything wired up. I'm an IT guy, so it's like at this point now I got the backup generator, so I'm always going.
Nice.
But I mean, like I said, like I was telling you, I mean, my thing is, I think everything single show we got to kind of, you know, do this. It's like weirdest, wildest, whether it be show story, customer story. I feel like everyone here, you know, a lot of people got the stories. I know even me, you know, not having the years on the belt that you do, I even have my fair share. I mean, you got to have at least one that stands out above all the others.
Yeah, I think things definitely come to me. I'm trying to think if there's like a really good one. I can tell you that Antoine ditched us at Pomona, so that he said he had COVID, which I'm assuming he just means he was with some white girl. And so I'm just telling that story because my guys from Cali are in here and they'll get a crack out of that. No, man, I've gotten a fight with security guard at St. Louis. You know, so you've had the security guard stuff. That story's pretty funny. Lady followed me from the door all the way to my booth, and I didn't have anything in my hand, and I turned around and I'm like grabbing this piece of pizza, and she's staring at me, and I was like, can I help you? And from there it got pretty dark pretty quick. I do have a bit of a fuse, or short fuse. I'd kill anybody with kindness, man, until a moment, right? And so the funny part of the story is, Chase is in the booth with me from Justin's, and so is Summer, right? And if you know Chase and Summer, they are just top level people. They're good, wholesome people. They're good people. And at some point, and Lisa could probably tell me for sure what Summer said, but Summer leaned over and said something to the effect of how she felt like, she's probably not somebody that causes that kind of trouble, right? And so she felt like she was like, oh, this was exciting. And so however she said it was really pretty funny. And I think I told you the story earlier about some lady putting snakes in her boobs and then telling me that her body temperature was 2 degrees warmer, and how all of her snakes at home know her and they love her because her body warmth, and how they like to snuggle in there. And I'm just okay. And then I think at one point I actually said something like, oh, snakes don't know who you are, man. Their brains are small. They're stupid. And she kind of argued with me, and then at that point, man, I usually just kind of shut down. Just, okay. Right. I kind of agree, but I think it's funny, when people have these just crazy stories and they want to share it with you. They just want to tell you these things. And, so, yeah, I mean, but there's been plenty of, I think, funny things, probably a lot of inside, jokes that happen between your friends and vendors, and they're probably funny to us, but not funny to anybody else.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. So you didn't go to convention center jail, is what you're saying, in St. Louis? No,
man. Man, me and this girl, man, Joe from JSA had to walk away from the booth because he was so hot. I was pretty upset, man. And the funny thing is, the people right across from me, and the lady's mad because we brought food in, right?
Right.
And there is a sign. I'm not going to be a dick here and say I didn't know what I was doing. It says don't bring inside food, or outside food, but I wasn't going to eat the freaking hot dog or whatever they were selling at their concession stand.
All right.
So we went across the street and got these little pizzas, and everybody in the aisle had food from Chick-fil-A and Arby's and whatever, Bob and those guys had a whole table full of Popeye's chicken or some shit.
Yeah.
And she comes to my table and gets into it with me, and just sat there and stared at us. And it was super awkward for everybody. And I don't know, I ended up having a pretty good laugh about the whole situation. And then if you go look at, I don't even know what that convention, the St. Charles Convention Center,
something like that.
If you find my Google review, I think my Google review is pretty funny.
I'll have to pull that one up at some point. So
yeah,
what is Brian talking about here with yelling at
at hookers at the Arlington Sheraton?
The Sheraton?
I don't know. Brian, I hope I wasn't yelling at hookers. If I was trying to pull one in for you, Brian.
Brian, how many bottles of bourbon are you deep?
Oh, yeah. Brian's another one, man. You talk about people, I was talking about Jason, man. Brian's another one at shows that I absolutely love to see. And Brian, I'm not saying this because you're in the comments, man. I'm being, wholehearted here, man. You always are energetic and happy, man. And you always have a good outlook. And not everybody at a show is that way. So I super appreciate you. It's good stuff. You
made Brian speechless.
No bourbon tonight. Oh, he's getting ready for Tinley.
No.
Yeah. I love it.
But I mean, I think kind of obviously, winding down here, obviously, because Troy's got a pack for Tinley too. We don't want to keep him.
Yeah, this is how I make my list. Nobody screenshot that. I'm gonna put that down really quick. Because it looks like a kindergartner wrote it. But yeah, I gotta finish up labels. I'll pack up the animals tonight. It's supposed to rain here all day tomorrow, and I think even all the way over to you guys, over to Illinois. So I'm gonna pack all our other shit tonight, and then hopefully run the animals out, and then we'll come over tomorrow, and I get to have a really nice dinner tomorrow night with Chris, who's in the comments. Epic Style there, if you don't know Chris.
I think everyone knows Chris.
Yeah, he's good stuff, and his lovely family, and then Robin from Red Line. So looking forward to a pretty nice dinner tomorrow night.
And Chris is buying, if I heard correctly, right?
That's kind of what I thought, man. Homeboy sells, like $1,000 geckos. I'm over here just trying to sell legless geckos, and he's got more money than I do.
He's got that gecko money now. Now it's all flipping. It's not that ball python money. It's that
lychee money.
Yeah, that's exactly why we have him coming in. I think it's like in a couple of weeks here. We're really trying to get Patrick Mahomes on the show for Chris. So if anyone here knows how to get a hold of Patrick Mahomes, please let us know for those representatives, because we're trying to get him on with Chris. Chris,
all right. I know somebody at the Rams. I know the photographer at the 49ers, but nobody at KC, man. I'm sorry, Chris.
Yeah, I've got one long shot. I told Chris, the one Nick Allegretti, the backup offensive lineman on the Chiefs, the backup guard. He went to high school with me.
Oh, fun! Yeah, right. Nice. Yeah.
So that's our only shot there. But I mean, I guess comment wise, any other questions, things you want to bust Troy about here before he goes to creating labels, going to bed, and then get into traveling?
Good fun times. I think you should. Are you gonna do one of these at the show?
So I want to do one of these at the show. The thing is, if I do it at the show, I can do it live via YouTube. I can't push to the other platforms, which it didn't work anyways because apparently Facebook killed all my lives.
Yeah, I mean, I see like John Feely or whatever pushes to like Facebook and stuff, and I guess. If I'm going to watch a podcast, man, and I would think anybody in the comments or whatever too, like, I can't imagine there's that many people that really look at it at that. I would think you come to YouTube, right? And maybe I don't know the numbers, but
I think the year, I mean, my goal has been, at least for this year, obviously it'll all be mobile via my phone because I need to actually make the money to get the cool mobile setup that I want. Because my goal is eventually that if at some point we have two booths, in the back of the one booth, I'll put a pop-up little studio, and we'll basically do almost kind of like Squawk on the Street, like how Jay Leno used to do. And we'll do quick, 10, 15-minute people coming through or just kind of driving it through like that. I think it'd be real funny just to go through and see kind of some of the people's answers and stuff, especially on Sunday when you have some people who are hungover. So, that's that's the goal. That's the goal. I think at some point we should probably swing by and see how riled up we can get you and JD.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah. I like, as much as I love him, and I think he loves me.
I mean, he did post shirtless pictures of you from Arlington, and he put I believe he put little hearts on them.
You know what's funny is at one point I think I saw his phone at me, but John's just not the kind of guy that I would ever thought he's taking a video, which I don't care, man. Right? I could have been naked for all I care. But yeah, that video was, he was chuckling, and I think I was on Instagram at the time, and I had got out and got right back in, and it was right there in front of me, and I was like, you fucker. And so we had a good laugh about it, man. That was a pretty funny video. Yeah, my son's actually on the way home from his place. My son cleans at JD's, and so me and Michael both kind of pick on JD as much as we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got a trend here going. I mean, St. Louis, you went shirtless in the elevator. Then Arlington, JD caught you shirtless on the couch. So the question is, where are you going to end up shirtless this year at Tinley?
Yeah, guys, I should come up with that and just see if anybody catches it.
You should. I really think this could be Where is Waldo, but where is shirtless Troy?
Yeah, part of me thinks, so I'm staying at the convention hotel this time. Normally, all of us guys at Airbnb together. We're bringing our French Bulldog puppies, and so we kind of threw a wrench in our Airbnb deal, and so we ended up all kind of spread out. So JD's at one hotel, me and Leaf are at a hotel. I see Jerome said the auction. I was thinking maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, I'll just come walk downstairs to the bar, just shirtless. See what happens.
With or without the suit jacket? Are you?
I can wear the jacket at least. Yeah, I mean,
full Miami Vice leisure suit. You got to get some good chains going.
I don't know if I have the leisure suit anymore. I had my dad's leisure suit, but I think I got rid of it.
Turnover chain.
Yeah. I have a pretty nice suit for Saturday though, man. I'm pretty psyched. And then, as you know, I have a matching suit jacket with a little buddy come Sunday. So I'm probably more excited for that.
Yeah. Are there any hints to the suit jacket that you want to drop, or complete surprise?
Oh, man, I don't know. I mean, I don't really keep them a big surprise by any means. It's just very it's very bright. It's very sequenced. Mm-hmm.
Troy, you guys, hands over when you go to the Texas show.
I tell you, these guys, this group chat is probably just right in the gutter. And then I just saw Andrew just showed up, which he always shows up late. That guy has no concept of time. He's stupid. I mean, I love him, but he's an idiot, and he's also fat. And I'm kidding. I don't actually think any of that of him. But he is super late. The homeboy is always late. So I love that he showed up to like the last 10 minutes of this. What an idiot.
No, right. So for those who have not either looked at the Morph Market map, I know some of it's missing a couple rows we found out, but
oh, is it?
That's what we found out yesterday. It's missing the other half of 14 and 15.
Oh, crazy. See, man, I'm oblivious.
But where, for those who don't know, obviously I know, but where do we find best dressed balls when it comes to Morph Market? Well, when it comes to NARBC, let's
to Tinley. Well, the easy answer is if you find Canova, who's typically everybody goes and sees. I'm just down the row from that son of a gun. So, which I believe is row 10. I think I'm 1008.
So you heard it, everyone. You look for the crowd where Canova is, and then you look for the bright speck across from him, and that's Troy's jacket.
Yeah, it goes JSA, Canova, Mershon, JD, and then I'm right across from JD. Yeah. Can't fit both of us in the same row.
I don't know what the Frodo Andrew, but
these guys, man, I'm sorry.
But about that, I know we're hitting right there almost at the hour here. We want to make sure that Troy can actually get to bed and be coherent behind the wheel. So
well, Lisa's gonna drive me tomorrow. I'm gonna sleep.
He's got a chauffeur. So if anyone's got a last second question, throw it out there. If anyone's got a last second funny story about Troy, throw it out there. Otherwise, for everyone that tuned in, I appreciate it. This was my kickoff, for this show here. We're trying to kind of mix it up, not just do ball pythons. Next week, we got martial arachnids. So for people who want to nerd out over bioactives, tarantulas, and other things that have 8 legs, definitely feel free to kind of tune in and join in. And hopefully the Facebook Live will actually work next week.
When it comes to these bug guys you talk to, can I just throw out that I get that there's a scientific name for ball pythons, but we just call them ball pythons. And so whenever I walk by spider tables, instead of them just calling it like a Goliath bird eater, it's like a T. amberambus blah 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 controbus, and I'm like, what is that? And then the guy's like, oh, it's a Goliath bird eater. Why didn't you just start with that?
No, right. Yeah, that's how pretty much everything is. My wife makes fun of me. I got the one genus that's called Formictopus, and I probably dropped that word about 50, 20 times. And
nice.
Probably next week you'll probably hear it about 100 times. But
I love it.
People make fun of it, and like my wife will kind of sort of help out with the ball python side, but like when it comes to the tarantula side, she's just like, yo, this is all you. Like I don't know how to say this. So
yeah, I actually am terrified of spiders, man. So there's a little tidbit for you.
Terrified of spiders. So I guess
I shouldn't say that anymore, because like terrified at one point in life, I would have never came by a booth like yours. Now I'm very curious. But I'm not at the point where I would hold one yet. Oh, hey, Lisa. Coming up here making all kinds of noise.
And
I have like Andrew and them around here, those assholes. Yeah.
You better be nice.
And Will, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I tried to like break onto the spot and tried to do it big. I was honestly pretty I was pretty confident when I reached out to Troy. I'm like, he's gonna be like, nah, I'm good, man.
No, man, I appreciate that. You know that you asked me to do it. I'm honored, man, that I'm your first guest. I hope it goes well. I know that it seems like there's a lot of podcasts out there, but man, you did a great job tonight,
Yeah.
and I mean that, and I really hope this continues, man. You flow well. Again, you and I talked earlier, and there's definitely people out there that are kind of dry, or it just seems like it kind of goes on or whatever forever and ever. And man, you did a great job, and I really hope that success continues. So
yeah, no, I appreciate it. I mean, I know I'm not the character of some people like Sean Bradley and stuff. I don't have those type of jokes and quick whips like that. And I got ways to go before I can get there. But like I said, I'm just trying to add kind of a different platform, a little bit more free flow, and really honestly, like I've told everyone, leave it up to my guests to a degree as far as where that's kind of going to go, and for everyone on here that is potentially interested or whatnot. I mean, I tell everyone this. I told Troy the same thing. I mean, this is a marketing platform for you guys as well. I'm just doing this for the hell of it, really. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I'm just trying to have some fun. I'm not trying to sponsor and have politics. That's why I don't have sponsors. I don't want people influencing what we say. We can say whatever you want. Just
can
like
I sponsor you?
If you want, whoa, advertise.
Yeah.
There we go. That's the word, is advertise. Because once you say sponsor, that means political influence.
Yeah,
but, like that's kind of my big thing, as I kind of say it is, even if we start quote unquote advertising for people, I don't want influence over it. I really want it to be about, like I said, like what we were talking about with some of the morphs and stuff, like you were saying with puzzle. I don't really care if 20 people come on here. Like, I love puzzle, but I don't care if 20 people come on here and be like, Troy, like, you suck. Like, puzzle's freaking awesome. Like,
yeah. Well, there's people that take it to heart, man. And I obviously run into some of those people, and typically I can navigate that conversation. But yeah, man, yeah, you can't have it all, man. You can't like it all. And you got to take this industry with a little bit of, I guess, a grain of salt or something, man. It is what it is. So.
No, right. Exactly. Like I said, end of the day, just trying to have some fun here. But, for everyone that did tune in, I appreciate it. Definitely keep, spreading the word around this. Like I said, we're just getting started. As time moves on, hopefully we'll have some more, funsies. We'll be streaming to more platforms at some point, and Facebook will actually let us stream and not knock everything down. But otherwise, appreciate everyone for joining. For myself, I'm Nick Karascavage, Cyber Serpents, Cyber Tees, and host of The Tread. And special thank you to our first inaugural guest, Troy from Best Dress Balls. Anything you want to say as we take it on out?
Nah, man, I'm excited. I'll see you this weekend. I know it's going to be a fun time, man. Definitely swing by the booth. And if anybody else is listening and you're going to be at Tinley, whether I know you or not, I certainly love to see new faces and old ones as well. So definitely swing by, and looking forward to a good time.
All righty, folks. Take care. I'm going to drop you out now.